If you're building software, there's always things to update. And in sales, that's never been more true. The market changes so fast now, especially with the introduction of the AI over the last 2 years. People are becoming a lot savvy now to mass, cold outreach and all those 1,000 emails that we cop. So we're trying to change the narrative, trying to help people sell in an ethical way that they can really scale within their business.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur Organization Business Podcast. I am your host, Linh Podetti. My guest today is from EO Melbourne, David Fastuca, co-founder of a newly built business called Growth Forum, which provides sales and marketing training to sales teams and founders. Prior to this business, David co-founded Locomote in 2012, a technology-led corporate travel agency. Since then, David has become an investor and advisor to various companies, include Fitstop, a fitness company, or the Melbourne Victory Football Club, Antler, a global startup generator, and early stage VC. In this episode, we delved into the story of David, how he turned around his Locomote business by improving his sales knowledge and strategy, and then using what he's learned to starting his own sales training company. He shared insightful sales tips and tricks that we can use to apply to our own businesses. So without further ado, let's welcome David. Welcome to the show, David. So good to have you on here.
It's a pleasure, Lynn. It's about time we've had this chat. We've tried to organise it for a while now.
Yeah, and I can't believe that we've actually known each other many, many years ago. I think over a decade ago, I was living in Melbourne, came across you, probably, you speaking somewhere. Back then, I was still a newbie entrepreneur trying to learn and pick people's brain. And I remember meeting you, but so good to be in EO and we're in the same family now.
Oh, that's it. Well, hopefully, it's good that you remembered from way back when. It's starting to show our age now, and the grey hairs. At least I've got them. You're looking great. So no grey hairs on your side.
It's the Asian genes. But yeah. So before we deep dive into the topic about sales systems and stuff like that, I'd love to hear about what made you decide to start Growth Forum. Probably because you had some sales challenges. Did you?
Oh, look, very, very interesting. So how it all came about was, so obviously, I joined EO because of the existing company, Locomote. So my cousin Ross and I co-founded Locomote back in 2011. We sold it 2016, then bought it back. While we exited, I just re-entered that now. So we started it in 2011, exited in 2016, had to stay for another 2 years, 2018. And then we did a bit of investing and consulting and mentoring, for about a year and a half. Then, the dreaded C hit, COVID. And then we found out that it was back for sale. So we bought it back. Long story short, we bought it back during COVID. And then I was faced with this crazy challenge of trying to sell business travel during COVID. So, you think of it like one of the hardest things to sell is travel, because no one's traveling. It's the last thing on people's mind. Everyone's, virtual. So I enlisted a long-term friend and fellow co-founder in Growth Forum now, Luigi Prestinenzi. So I said to him, mate, Ross and I really want to validate that, Locomote's still a viable thing. And if we can build the sales, then we're going to go out and get investment. So help me, please. So during that time, Luigi coached me on reframing our messaging, looking at the go-to-market, and then helping me build a pipeline and an outreach program. And it worked amazingly well. And I really enjoyed that process of he being able to help me with a problem that I had. And that was, the narrative around what we were trying to sell at the time. And at that time, Luigi was running his own business, but he was hitting a bit of a wall on how he could scale it. And I had ideas on how we could scale it, back in the mind back then. But I was focused on Locomote. And then fast forward, 2.5 years later, we scaled Locomote, done our investments into the business, raised funding for it. Ross and the team are doing an amazing job. Of March-ish this year, I decided that it was time to step away from Locomote. The growth and the sales were humming along and embark on a new challenge. And at that same time, Luigi was looking for a bit of a new venture as well. He was getting burnt out because he was mainly doing the traditional consulting, sales coaching, very hands-on approach. And he had customers all over the world. So he was flying from Melbourne to Germany to the US, working with Stripe, HubSpot, all your big name brands. He was coaching these teams on how to sell. And then I said, Louis, I think it's time we join forces. I've got an idea on how we can scale this program in a way that doesn't kill you pretty much and gives your life back. And that's when Growth Forum was born. So we've only been really live and selling ourselves for the last probably 2 to 3 months. But it's been probably the most exciting time and most enjoyable for the last 10 years, I'd say.
Yeah. So tell me more about Growth Form. Like, how does it work? I mean, even myself, we're trying to build out our sales team at the moment. It's always been really challenging trying to figure out the best sales process as well as finding the right salespeople. So what does Growth Form actually solve?
Perfect. So what we've found is that there's so many courses and programs out in the marketplace at the moment that teaches you all these, certain things on how to go out and sell. And then you've got sales coaches, on the other hand, that come into the business, set you up with a program, and then, leave it to you. But there's no really done with you process. So we're combining the best of both worlds. So we provide an online program. So it's our own community platform where you log in, you go through the course program, and during that program, along the way, you build your own sales playbook. So initially at the start, we give you a foundation, like a draft. And then as you go through the course material, you're filling in the bits and pieces, you're testing. So you're able to actually start implementing the things from week one. And then you get access to Luigi and I on tap, as we say. We've got a private chat room with just Luigi and I and the team and your team. So you can put in any sort of roadblocks you might have. You might have an email that you're scripting and you get no replies. Bang, you can paste it in there. You might have a call recording. We can review that for you. And then we run a weekly live coaching calls where the community can join. And it's a chance for you to air something, to our community privately on an issue that you might having or a roadblock. And then we workshop it live. So it's the best of both worlds. You get that, coaching wingmen that are with you side by side, helping you grow and training either the founder of the business or the sales team within the business. And you get a playbook, a sales playbook that you can apply from day one and get going and working on your sales. Because like anything in business, nothing's ever 100% done. If you're building software, there's always things to update. And in sales, that's never been more true. The market changes so fast now, especially with the introduction of the AI over the last 2 years. People are becoming a lot savvy now to mass, cold outreach and all those 1,000 emails that we cop. So we're trying to change the narrative, trying to help people sell in an ethical way that they can really scale within their business.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I'm definitely very interested in exploring for ourselves. But let's look back at, at that time you were trying to get Locomote to work again and you worked with Luigi. During that time, I mean, with COVID being still kind of relatively new, how did you really turn it around with the sales? Like, what were the things that he taught you that you implemented that really shifted it and, helped it to grow?
Yeah. So one of the big things that, we teach within the program is how to think about the problems that your customer is having. Now, obviously at the time, COVID, was riveting through a lot of businesses, especially hospitality and things like that. Within businesses, we didn't know, coming out of COVID, are people going to still still go on Zoom calls or want to get face-to-face? There's going to be extra issues coming out of COVID as well. The compliance, making sure your staff are traveling safe, when typically those issues were only really thought of in your large enterprise. Small to medium-sized businesses didn't really care about those issues. And that's probably a bit of a blanket statement, but let's say the majority didn't really care. But coming out of COVID, now they had all these, the staff themselves will say, well, what's the company doing to make sure that I'm safe when I travel? As a company, you got a real sense of duty of care with them. So we use those challenges that a lot of founders and small to medium businesses didn't really think of and led with insight. So then when we reached out, we will say, coming out of COVID, have you thought about X, Y, Z? This is going to be an issue, for your staff. What are you doing about that? And these are a lot of the problems that Locomote solves and still solves today. They've only come, light years ahead now and do some amazing things there. So that's the narrative. Luigi really teaches, throughout the program on how to lead with insight and address a foreseeable problem that your customer has now or may have into the future, and then position yourself as a thought leader in the space. Then your product shines through from there.
I really like that concept because you're still selling travel, but you're finding a different angle to really address the problem that is really happening in the market. So yeah, really, really, really great tip. And I can see that you're starting this new business, which means that you're probably trying to get sales yourself a lot more. What are some of the challenges in, starting a new company for yourself?
Starting a new business from scratch, as we all know and been there, you're doing 1,000 different things. So for us, it's about the priorities. Being, not even 12 months old, there is so much that we can do and a lot of shiny paper stuff that's cool and fun to do. But we're really focused on, what's going to move the needle for us. And the beauty for us and the people and the companies that we teach is that we practice what we preach. What we tell you, what you should do is actually what we do and how we're growing our business. We go real deep and dirty into the program on these are the tools. This is how we're using things. Let's look at this live. Luigi, even like early this morning, did a cold call for another company, pretending that he was part of the company and booked a call for them, right? Because he's just showing how the frameworks and the messaging, really can apply to any industry if thought in the right way. So the challenges for us is more focus, which I think we struggle with as founders. We've got a podcast, we've got, articles going out, we're posting every day, we're thinking about, we've got a book that we're writing at the moment. There's a lot on the plate. So it all comes down to, our biggest issue is just focusing on the right things that's going to serve our community the best that we can. And then, what do we enjoy doing as well?
Very good. Yeah, I get you. There's just so many strategies and they all work. You just need time to do it. So if you're talking to someone right now and their way of attracting clients has always been word of mouth and they haven't really tried anything apart from word of mouth, what would you say to those people? And if others were more mainly just maybe doing content and haven't really done cold calling and kind of proactively call, it's like, what advice would you have for the two types of people that I usually come across with?
It's not for the faint-hearted. Cold calling can be brutal at times. Like I wrote about recently, the times I've been told to F off on the phone, back in the early days of, of Locomote and things like that. It can be tough. The best thing that we find, and it's the way that you get feedback rapidly, is number one, you need to have a clear picture of your ideal customer profile. Who are you selling to? What does their day look like? What are they looking for? What are the problems that they need to solve in the business? Then you think about, okay, what am I selling here? How does that help them? And then you build a narrative around that. And then you build your list. So you can use tools like LinkedIn. And if you've got the paid version, LinkedIn Sales Navigator, you can quickly get a whole range of ideal customer profile leads from there. Then you use like another tool that we promote quite heavily called Lucia, which it's a tool that sits over the top of your LinkedIn profile and it could derive the emails and phone numbers of your prospects. And then the fun begins, right? So then what we've sort of coined is a power prospecting process. It's a cadence that you then set up where I'm going to reach out to Lynn via email. I'm going to give you a call. And I'm going to reach out to you on LinkedIn, all within 10 minutes of each other. And the reasoning behind that is that we're all busy. Doesn't matter what we do in life. We're all flat out. We've all got 100 million tasks that we need to complete in a day. You're not going to check your phone. You might not check your email, but you'll check your social. So it's getting coverage around this. And then there's the follow-up process. And then eventually you can either get a yes or no, or someone picks up the phone and responds. And then you're able to have that interaction. You get to listen to the words that your customer uses, and then you might make changes on your copy and your scripting based on what the customers are telling you their problems are. So the fastest way, that we see, and we do it ourselves, to build pipeline is to prospect yourself.
Prospect yourself. So you having to do it yourself first before you actually...
Before one big thing. So founders are often quickly gone to the solution of, I want to hire a salesperson, right? Until you've got a proven, repeatable sales process in the business, you haven't earned the right to hire someone yet because you're setting them up for failure. You haven't got the systems. You haven't got any sort of scripts. You haven't worked on the objections that you can hand this person and then they can really upskill quickly and they can ramp up and start to deliver for you. Because what you're doing is that you're hiring this person, expecting them to work it out. They're not going to know your business, your product, your service as well as you do. So you need to have this system really down pat, working where your calendar is pretty full with sales meetings that you know confidently that you can get someone into the business, train them up with the systems that you're applying, and they might have a bit of a lower conversion rate than you because the founder has that title, has that sort of suave, that little swagger, that a salesperson may not have, but you want to be able to know that whatever you're going to get them to do, you've done it yourself and it's worked. Otherwise, you're just relying on hope, and hope's not a strategy.
Yeah, I get ya. A challenge for me to do, because I definitely have a sales manager, and I guess she's been with us for many years now. I'm thinking that maybe she could be the one experimenting, because she probably knows it a lot more than me. But it also, the other crossroad for us is, for example, we've built up a content machine, right? So clients are coming in through the content that they see, so they're actually kind of hot inbound leads. And cold outbound is something that we haven't tried. And I myself don't like picking up phone calls from telemarketers. And so it's a little bit of this kind of like resistance even within myself to go really push for it and believing in cold calling, because I myself don't like receiving it. Like, is this a common experience that you've heard from people around this, uncomfortable feeling around cold calling?
Yeah, 100%. It's like no one, well, I won't say no one, but the majority of people don't wake up and go, I can't wait to cold call and be told off 1,000 times today. But if you really believe in what you're selling and you're selling it to the right customer, the right profile that that you can really help, it should be something that, is approached with a level of confidence that I know I can help you. I'm leading with some insight. Here's what I've done for someone else. I'd love to share this with you because I believe we can help 10x your business or free or whatever the promise is. And one good thing as well that you can layer on top of that, just to lower the coldness of the outreach, is that there are a bunch of tools and ways now that you can see intent. Now, what I mean by intent, there's a free tool called Clearbit. So it's clearbit.com. You just add the code onto your website, and then it tells you the companies that are searching on your website, right? That are looking at your specific website. So then if I'm going to reach out, it's not going to tell me who, specifically, but I'm going to know that someone at Apple's looking at my website. So then when I'm reaching out to someone, I can say, hey, Lynn, I've noticed that some people from Apple are looking at our site for sales training. You might not be the right person, but who should I reach out to? What happens there is it triggers Lynn, then she goes, okay, maybe it's my team. Or you might strike a bit of gold and it might be that person themselves, but at least it's not a cold out, it's not a cold call, per se. So that's that midway that you can, if you're not comfortable cold calling, from straight bat and dealing with objections, which, we all get as founders and anyone in life. We get objected every day. If you've got kids, you're dealing with negotiations 1,000 times a day. They're the best salespeople, right? They don't care. They go for gold straight away. That's an easy stopgap, that we say, try these few things, get comfortable with that, and then you can, level up to the next stage of going purely cold based on your offering.
Yeah, I really like your perspective, because it's like when you love your product so much and it can change life, then you will be excited to let as many people know as possible. And phoning someone is a different method, because they might not even know that there's a solution out there, but maybe you could catch them at the right time. And it's really great to also see that there is a way to actually make it feel not as awkward. So with all these learnings that you've gained from sales, I would love to go back to what have you learned over the many years you ran Locomote, and now that you're running a new business, it's what lessons are you taking with you into this new venture?
I think storytelling is always there. It's always prevalent. I always lead with the story that, Luigi coached me. And through his coaching, I was able to, develop a $1 billion pipeline within the business. And this is what he taught me. And I fell in love with what he's doing so much that I think more businesses need to understand this process and need to apply it. So storytelling, number one, is key. Messaging. So the copywriting on your websites, your emails, everything you do is key. Hand up, in the air. I struggled back in the Locomote days to really nail our message and our copy, because we had a whole range of different personas. So, and what I mean by personas, it could be the office admin is someone that can make a decision on buying Locomote. And then in the same type of business, in the same industry, it's the CFO. And then, again, it's the CEO. So it was really difficult to have a clear message and a person that we're speaking to. And I really struggled with that. That's just me being vulnerable there. I was just over the years, and, we tried for 6+ years to nail the messaging, and was just never able to do it properly to the way that I like it. Versus now within Growth Forum, we've got a real clear buyer persona. We've got a real clear message. It makes everything that we do that much more easier. and more fun too, because I know that, you fit here, this is how we can help you, and these are the problems that you're having, and everyone just like, yes, you know me. It feels like you've been in the business with me. That makes life so much easier when you're trying to sell a product or service. So probably those two things, storytelling and your messaging.
Are there anything that you wish you've done earlier when you were running that business? Like, for example, it feels like you've met Luigi at the right time and he's giving you all these tips, It seems like maybe it's like, because it sounds like you struggled for 6-7 years to even get your messaging. What were you doing that kept you in that same position?
Yeah, I think, if I had my time again, like to have, like, I don't know, there's no regrets there, but I think if I had to change something, niching down is always good, right? So if you niche down, and this comes down to people doing different landing pages, targeting a different industry. But if you're really known for being X for Y, business travel for technology companies or house cleaning for businesses, whatever it might be, having that clear niche down, that can help you nail your messaging and nail your go-to-market, and then you become known for that. When you're, we can do X for everyone, your message becomes diluted and your USP is also, very bland, and there's 1,000 of you out there in the marketplace. So it's how to really differentiate yourself, which can be quite hard, especially in a saturated market. And then especially if someone's using a relatively, not straightforward product, but a relatively similar product, and you can solve it, but in a different way, how are you going to maneuver them to change? There's a change management issue, there's a time, so that's where your messaging and your differentiation needs to be really strong for them to invest the time. Because your product, you might not cost them anything to switch over, and you might actually be cheaper, but there's time investment from their side, there's disruption to the business. There's still things you got to overcome. So that can be really challenging.
So what is your niche, for example? So, I can see that sales systems can kind of be applicable to any businesses. So how have you chosen your niche? Because in our case, we're finding it as a struggle as well. It's just like, we help you scale your operations with virtual assistants, and we kind of have different types of clients that range from all sorts of industries. So how have you found your own niche?
Yeah, no, great question. So we've aligned it down to like a segment of the market. So I'll break it down. So we only focus on B2B businesses. So if you sell, a B2C service, we're not for you. So B2B. And then we need to make sure that you're doing like a $1 million plus in sales, because that shows us that you've got product market fit. Now it's just about, building on top of that. Then we also approach it of, are you a founder? So if you're a founder doing founder-led sales, bang, we can help you build a repeatable system that will enable you to now start to hire people. And then the only other caveat to that is then we work with sales teams, so sales development reps or BDMs, and we train them to hit their KPI. So while there's probably like 2 audiences there, it's really defined versus having 20 that we serve.
Very, very good. Yeah, something for me to think about. So, just thinking back, like, what motivated you to start businesses in the first place? Like your entrepreneur dream, like what made David go, this is my destiny?
I hate working for people. I think it was, we've spoken about it in the past where our family were all business owners. The word entrepreneur wasn't used back then. It's just that they ran a business. My Uncle Gerald, Ross's father, owned a local milk bar that did amazingly well. My Uncle Tom runs a gardening and landscaping business. My stepfather ran a cabinet making business. Everyone's around us sort of worked for themselves. So we just thought it was natural that you're going to work for yourself. While they all worked crazy hours and worked really hard, we were just grown up with thinking that that's the norm. And then when obviously when you're a young kid and we're working for someone else and you see that things could be done better and then they don't listen to you because you're too young, whatever, then I was like, well, I don't want to work for anyone. I enjoy the freedom of working for myself. I enjoy working crazy hours because if I'm doing what I love, it doesn't feel like work. It just feels like it's the thing that I do. So I struggle. I struggled when Locomote got bought out and we had to work, for 2 years with the company that bought us. It was hard. It was hard coming to the office, knowing that it wasn't ours and knowing that we couldn't change staff were still coming to us asking, can we do this? Can we do that? Why is this happening? And we were pretty powerless. And that was a tough 2 years.
So what was your motivation at that time really was just that it's just the way it is. So how has it changed now? Like, at the beginning, you might just you fell into entrepreneurship because it's just what you do. But like, what motivates you now to actually continue to, hustle or solve problems?
I think now it's more so for my kids. So I've got 3 kids, Chelsea, Leo, Stella. If they ever listen to this when they're older, it's something that I want to show to them that you can make something yourself and not to have excuses. Right now, it's too easy for anyone to blame X, Y scenario. At the end of the day, it's just coming down to you being lazy. So I try and just instill into them that if you have the work ethic, if you really want something, you can really get it. And this is why I love working at home as well. So I do part in the office, part in the city, and the kids get to see me working. They get to see, dad's working at night, and they ask me, like Leo, he's 7 years old, and he's asking me, Dad, what are you working on? I'm like, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than just saying I'm doing work, I go, I'm working on a website, and this is what I'm doing. And he'll just sit there, and I'm just talking about what I'm doing. And then he asked me about the same thing 2 weeks later, and I thought it was a throwaway comment. So that they love it. They love to know what mum and dad are working on and ask questions. So it's good because then I'll see it in them. When they're playing games, I can hear them saying, more like my daughter Stella loves animals. She wants to be a vet, and she's talking about her own, clinic and Stella's thing. So it's cool if I can ingrain that into them young, without telling them. They just monkey see, monkey do. Then hopefully they grow up and they know that that's an option. It's a pathway for them.
Yeah, I really resonate with that, reason too. I just feel like the best way is to lead by example, to be the person that you want them to be. So this leads me to my last question is like, ultimately, like, what do you want your kids to remember you for? Even the people you work with or your friends and family, what do you want people to remember David for?
I don't really care what people think about me, apart from the people that mean a lot to me. So, my wife, my kids, and my best friends, especially for my kids. I want my kids to remember Dad as someone that worked hard, loved what he did, and was there for us. Those 3 things. If the day that's, I leave the earth, if my kids can say that, I'll be happy.
Yeah. Have you asked them that yet?
Have I asked them that? They always want more. That way with me, I go, I'm doing it. He goes, I'm working here so I can pay for your phone bill. So it's always, they always want more, which is great because I know there'll become the day when they're older and, they're not asking for us every 4 minutes. They're not asking to go out and have a kick of the ball. So I need to remember that more. I think we all struggle with that. We can work 24/7, but our kids aren't going to be there, 24/7 forever. So I just need to sit back and enjoy it more. I know that work's always going to be there, but the kids won't. They grow up fast.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. Thank you, David, so much for this conversation. I learned so much about sales. I'm very interested in your service as well. But I'll make sure to put all your details in the description of this video below. But yeah, thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Lynn. It's been a pleasure.